Okay, then let's start. Or should we wait for the latecomers? Okay, let's start. Okay, dear friends, good afternoon. Maybe for some of you, good morning. And here it's evening and it's cold, at least in the place where I live. So we're starting our meeting today, and today's meeting is not even about theory, but about transformation. Things that we talked about over 6-7 lessons now being turned into practical, into practice. So I would like to ask you a question. The question that I asked at our first meeting, because this is my opinion that I'm responsible before you, because for me, talking to other people, especially at a distance, some remote meetings, it's a big responsibility for me. I usually prepare my own presentations, and then based on the presentations that we prepared, a sales guidelines were developed. This is a whole methodology, but before we go through that methodology, I would like to say a few words. And I would like to start my today's lesson from the first question. So, what is main in business? I would like to see your answers. What is the main thing in business? So I knew that you would answer that question, that you know the answer to the question. What is the main thing in business? So basically, yes, the clients, the customers. And we should keep our clients as a priority, because if you keep your clients as a priority, then your employees will keep clients as their priority, because business is created for clients, not for the profits. And that's what people mix up, because people always say that profits is the main thing in business. But no, profit is the measure of value, of usefulness. And if we serve our clients well enough, then the profits will be like applause, like be making noise from your clients. It's a logical consequence of a well-satisfied client. And for some reason, people do not place clients as the priority. They do not place them in the first place. And some people say that we have clients, but we don't have profits. Then you're stupid, because you sell a dollar at 99 cents, and they ask you, so what's the profit? I don't know what's the profit, but the turnover is really big. So that's a joke. And then if you have a lot of money, but you don't have clients, and you have a big turnover and have no clients, then it's obvious that your business is a shady one, maybe corruption or some other stuff, you know. So it's about being useful and valuable to clients. So I had experience of working with a lot of different retail outlets, and I had a friend who had furniture manufacturing facilities, and he had good relations with Italian designers and producers, but he had problems with sales. So after a very long, tiresome period of business development and investment into business, he paid very little attention to being able to interact with clients and inspire them. Therefore, the building, the equipment is nothing it's better to own the market rather than own a plant. So, and our task here is to own the market, to own our clients. Therefore, we need a conveyor belt of sales. Every business. So what I mean by a conveyor, when I worked as a student, I remember I worked at a car manufacturing plant. I enjoyed watching how a car is assembled. And I remember I worked 2 shifts in a row on purpose because I wanted to make double the money. It was cool, you know. I worked 2 shifts in a row and sometimes I made quite good money. And what I was impressed most on that conveyor belt is there were like heaps of metal, those robots wielding the metal sheets, and then it goes along the conveyor, and maybe in 2.5 days, you see a car being lowered down, then you insert the key and you can turn it on right away. It was fantastic. So imagine an automobile that never ever was driven by anyone starts moving, and lots of cars, one after the another, starts moving. And the amazing thing about it is all of those assembled cars start moving when you turn on the engine. And that's the same thing with our client, that they will go through our conveyor belt of sales and become eventually our client. Well, of course, it is not as mechanical as the plant, but our task here is to increase the conversion. Our prospects need to be our actual buyers. And that's why we're here. The reason why I'm focusing on it is that I'm now in a village in the country, and we have several oak trees growing, 5 in different corners of my land plot, and I think they are like 200 years old. I'm on the edge of the wood, and I quite love them, enjoy them. I mean, they're huge, they are tall, and the oak doesn't care what I think about it. Whereas in business, clients do care what you think about them and how you talk to them. It is very important. The ability to convey certain thoughts, to inspire them, to meet them halfway, to make them be inspired with our proposal. This is quite an important task, and the sales conveyor belt is a technique of gradual attraction of the client. And the technique is a succession of actions, rules, scripts, text that allow us to attract our client or allow us to have a higher degree or chance of attracting the client. And it needs to be written down. So here you have it, the sales guidelines. And you see it says neurolinguistic sales in the parentheses, because we're using words to affect the neuronic connections in people's heads. So we kind of program them to create value for themselves. And it's very important because literally last week, it was last week, I think, I was sent a video by Tatiana about Ferrari company. It's a car industry. And I watched the entire video, and I noticed that the Ferrari itself, himself, when they created the company, had like big blueprints on how to create the first sports cars, Ferrari. But his investors were in doubt. They couldn't decide. They said it wasn't that simple, and they were right, because if you take the entire Ferrari documentation and print it out into paper, then a regular car can weigh 1.5 tons, 2 tons, whereas the amount of documentation that describes that car weighs the same if you print it out. So all the paper that needs to be to describe that you need to describe the Ferrari car also weighs 2 tons. So the question is, how much our document weigh, the sales guidelines? If it's 3 pages or 4 pages, it's 15 pages sometimes, and that's it. Whereas we prepared 40 pages of specific texts and some descriptions for you to be able to prepare yourself for the interaction with the clients. And if we want to create clients, and business is about creating clients, we need such techniques, such guidelines. And you gain the market that you're going to work on is the highest league market, is the Premier League. There are a lot of different social platforms changing this world. They work above the government. In order for you and me to talk, we don't need any permission from any state, from any government. We are talking beyond anyone's will. It's beyond that level, higher. That's why the competition is very high. And who knows how to inspire best will win. Who knows how to convince them, how to urge them, how to inspire them to take action. And in order to be able to play in this Premier League, you need to train. Training is of the essence. A professional trains twice a day. Amateurs 3 times a week. And losers, they train when they lose. So I always remember a year ago, I heard on TV a very good football player came to us with Liverpool. They played in Russia. They played, I think it was Champions League. It was Salah. He played in Fiorentina and Roma. And that guy told one thing. He said that Fiorentina's coach told me that you cannot complete your attack. You play well, you have a good technique, you have good kick, but you cannot complete your attack well. And when he gave the interview, he said, I don't know whether I should mention it or not. Then he became shy, and then he said, I had in my home create a plain field, put up the goal, and I covered the entire goal, and I only left holes in the corners. And after coming back home from my training, I trained in my backyard. And he was kind of shy of admitting it. So he trained twice a day, 6 times a week, and then he still trained when he came back home, how to complete the attack. He is now the best player in Liverpool. For some reason, sellers think that they know everything, but it's not enough. You need not only to know, but to know how to do. And in order to know how to do, you need to have a technique. It's not enough being able to be willing to do it. You need techniques. So this is the first draft, which is still being updated, and it is still being translated into other languages. It is now in Google Docs. On the left, in the Russian document, unfortunately, you can't see it in the English. On the left, there is a menu. And could you please click on the first item on the menu, and you see that the result is produced by the client. So what is what this document is all about? Well, it represents the results, maybe not to the full extent, but it shows the results of it shows the practical texts that you can use to train your conversation before you meet the client, to train how you're gonna speak before you go and meet your client. It's very important to train what you're gonna say, how. You can record it on a videotape, because intonation, the tone of your voice, rules the world. You shouldn't be thinking what you're going to see. The words should be coming to your head on their own. And for that, you need to practice. And there are a lot of different practice here that you need to rehearse and maybe memorize them by heart. This is very important because we don't have to think. You know, a smart thought should come to your head on time. Smart words should be coming to you on time without being asked to. And when a person hears an objection, in 80% of cases, people who hear an objection, they are frightened. Their face changes. And instead of being inspired, you know, being happy about receiving the objection, they're trying to make faces, you know, they become upset, they're trying mooing, etc. Whereas you should be happy. You should greet, welcome objections, and then you start talking to them. And we have several options here. And then a person feels that might be some depth to it, a lot of energy, a lot of understanding, and a lot of sincerity, which is very important. In order to be able to sell, we need to love people. And remember, I quoted our composer who said, love, it was Rubinstein. He said, love is admiration of another human being. So we need to be ready for any turn of events. Here you have three types of clients: owners, employees of the company, and consumers, the clients of the clients, who will eventually have to install the game or install the application. And for all of them, we have our own scripts, our own presentations, and our own objection handling techniques. And this document you have right in front of us. And it's very important for us. It was very important for us to prepare this document, because when I start talking about principles of how to interact with clients and how to talk to clients, when I talk about different techniques, you know, when we work offline, sometimes people say, Alexander, it's all theory. And we're practitioners. We sell all the time, all the day. This is theory. Whereas what you say, it's theory. And when I hear them, I understand that those people who say such things, they are theoreticians squared. Why? Because somewhere long ago, he learned a set of phrases for 2 weeks, and he has been using that set of phrases for 5-6 years and never came up with anything new. And it is very difficult for them to get off the track of ordinary and add new cool phrases, new catchphrases, and become way more efficient. So the reason why my introduction is so long here is for you, dear friends, to understand that even if you're really a cool salesperson, go to the next level, be even better. Start preparing for every client anew. Add new phrases, catchwords, learn your scripts. And here again, I remember the responses of people who who hear those words, and they say, Alexander, when a salesperson uses a script, you can immediately see it, that they're using a script. What I can say here is, yes, you can see it if they don't know the script and never rehearsed it. I do not suggest that you follow the script to the letter. I suggest you memorize it just to be able later sometimes to notice things, sometimes to add something of your own. So you need to have a core around which you could build your conversation. But without the script, you have no core, you have no skeleton. So do you have a pen? I would like to give you an example. So write down 6 numbers: 32, 11, 32, 11, 32, 32, 11, 32. So this is the blues formula. Blues, music blues. This is the blues gamma. How to decipher it? 1 is a half a tone. 3 is 1 tone and a half. If we start playing blues gamma from do, then the second one will be re diez, then fa, then mi, and 6 notes. This is the blues gamma. If you take a marker and mark the keys on a piano, like do, re, fa, si, diez, la, and do, and then when you use those marked keys, you start hitting them chaotically with different lengths, and it will be a miracle. You will hear blues, and people will say, wow, who taught you that? And you'll say, no one. You see, I hit the keys randomly, and still blues is coming out of my hands. It's improvisation. And you can hit them anytime you want in different order. So that's what we need to do. We need to create blues and jazz when we talk to clients. It's gamma that we need to learn. Let me give you a small example. Literally today, I received a letter with the following contents. Because I'm involved in elite car sales. And for 2 weeks in a row, there were very little conversions from phone calls. It was like 10%, only one tenth of the clients called agreed to come to the car dealership. So we developed a script, and I called in all the employees and I said, take your scripts, go wherever you want to, and write down all the objections for 10 minutes on your tape recorder. So they did it. They came back, they listened to it, and they said, yes, here I said it's wrong. The intonation is wrong. And then I came again and I said, who listened while they were driving to the work? Who listened to those scripts? No one. And I said, stand up and go write them down again or record them again. So today, the manager of the car dealership wrote me, said, Alexander, 3 people showed a rapid increase of conversion from phone calls. They didn't even rehearse. They just rehearsed those scripts 3 times. They simply repeated them. And imagine if you do it 10 times a day. And when those scripts settle down like proverbs in your head, you'll become wizards, literally. And this is the second comment. And third, I would like our team, our managers, to control the following thing. And I think this is still a draft, but I think this is the draft then you can start with. And if all of a sudden you have interesting ideas how to handle objections, let's add them to that document because I have 4 or 5 answers to each objection. Why? Because you need to be always ready to handle any kind of objection. And when I say ready, it means that you need to be able to give at least 5 answers, because if you give one answer, the person might not understand it. Then you give them a second answer and they don't get it again. A third one, again, no luck. And then you give them a fourth answer and finally it strikes home and they realize. So that's why you need to have at least 5, 6 answers to every objection. You know, there have been written so many books on sales, although this book is quite specific because it was written based on your particular situation. But I'm sure that a lot of salespeople never rehearse, never train. They can buy the books and keep them on the shelf. But guys, this is my urge to you. Please find courage and patience in yourself to read at least these guidelines. Start reading it aloud, or better, record it on a tape recorder on your phone, and then you put it on loudspeaker on your phone when you're driving. So create your car into a laboratory of sales. Instead of being stuck in a traffic jam, you stay there and you talk and you record your scripts and you rehearse your pronunciation, your articulation. This is elementary, but yet people don't do it, and they should. So I'm sorry for being too direct, straightforward here, but this is my appeal to all of our partners, dear friends. Take responsibility for your own skills, especially now when you have the instrument. I'm not sure whether it was correctly translated into other languages, but I have full faith in our girls translators, because for some reason I think that our interpreters are all girls. Wrong. And but if there is a mistake there, then correct it, and then go ahead towards success and money, because success, tell me what success is. To be able to get up after falling down. Someone says the recognition of clients. Yeah, it's to be the first. Success is being recognized, is to receive recognition from clients. So we have 2 answers here: to be the first and to be recognized by clients. The reason why the first answer is correct, because we have the word client in it. When I say success is to be the first, I'm talking about myself, but it is the client who has the money. We don't have the money. We don't have the money printing machine. They have the money. Yeah, you can say that success is the outcome of your actions, but it's not going to be accurate. Success is when you are in demand, when people want to talk to you, when people want to see you. Maria says that we're the first to make an offer. You can come to a client and say, you should buy from me, and you might get rejected. But if we come to a client and tell them what they receive from talking with us when they start interacting with us. So maybe I did not put enough emphasis here. Success is a social phenomenon. I have quite a huge land plot here, and if the crisis hits, I will start planting potatoes. If there is a deep crisis, recession, I have everything that I need. And people who don't have clients in their heads, they plant vegetables, the sun gives light, and then the plant grows and they eat it. But as soon as they go to the market, they start having clients. I remember in all countries very long ago, there were a lot of self-sustained economies, but then it turned out that someone is better at something and is doing it better than others. And that's where the market came. So for us to be able to be always successful, the client needs to put us in the first place in their perception. If I have the first place in our clients' heads, then when they have the need, whom they're gonna call? They're going to call the person who has the first place in their head, which is me. And what do you need to do to have the first place and the priority in our clients' heads? You need to forget about yourself when you talk to the client. You need to put yourself on the second place and put the client on the first place. Talk about them. Talk about them all the time. And when you talk about them all the time, you ask them what is important for them. That's when we identify needs. Because when we talk about them, they immediately will put you on the first place, because attention is a huge deficit. All people want to sell, and the biggest deficit in this world is attention to the other person, attention to their personality. And we need to step over that habit. I'm Vasutin Alexander, and of course, my world is Vasutin focused, Vasutin centric. You know, of course, the earth revolves around the sun, but when we are living on earth, it is the sun revolving around the earth. And that's our goal as well, is to revolve around our client. Well, not on our knees with decency, but still, we need to revolve around our client and not the other way around. The most important thing for the client is themselves. And if we talk about them, and what is important to them, they will place us in the first place. Because it's a simple discovery, which is rarely discovered by people, especially salespeople. And our goal is to develop this habit. If I go to the client, I need to put the client in the first place and talk about them, only about them. And only in the end, you can start mentioning your company, your product, and yourself, and then they're gonna buy it, because nobody else talked about them like you did. So I would like you to pay attention to it, dear friends. Now, can you see my position? What do you say? Do you agree? So give me some feedback, please, if you agree. Thank you very much, dear friends. Sometimes we have to make those little discoveries, but they are priceless. Because if you don't make discoveries, something always goes wrong. There are some general things that we need simply to know, to learn and know and remember. It is not enough to know. You need to develop the habit. Of course, we know that the client is important, that all the money is held by the client, that the client comes first. But do our actions match our knowledge? And sometimes they do not. I know how to play football, but did you train? Do you know how to stop the ball? Do you know how to kick the ball? Do you know how to dribble? If you didn't, then you know how to play football, but you don't know how to play football. And there is a big gap between knowing and being able to. And when some people say that it's just theory, maybe they are the worst theoreticians. They know 5 tricks, 5 phrases, and they use them in different order. But it doesn't always work, whereas we give a bigger variety. And That's where you win. Okay, now let's move on because I've already taken too much time. Let's go through our training manual or sales guidelines. The result is produced by the client and everything that follows in the previous page. Those are quite important words and answers that you need to familiarize with, because I try to be as concise and brief as possible, and I used a special tool to avoid using redundant words. So it's very compact, the principle of interacting with clients. So everything that I said over my numerous lessons is written here. The battle starts with the client and ends with the client. The company ends with the client. And I left here 10 principles. Over my career, I've come up with a lot of different phrases. Many years ago, when we were buying a BMW dealership, I came across the documents by BMW car factory describing the requirements and rules and how a dealership should work. And I noticed one interesting idea that I borrowed from BMW. Every document there was accompanied with a metaphor, with a statement, like a quote that reflects the contents of that document. So on this page, on the screen, on the previous page, you know what it says? It starts with a quote. It says, be happy about people and facilitate their success. And there is a second quote below, the principle of relationship with clients. That the result in the business is produced by clients when they pay for products. The result is produced by clients. So we have costs if we do not do our work correctly. So I prepared about 450 or maybe 500 different quotes and statements that I use in my work. Sometimes I publish them publicly like this. So look, the principles of the relations with the customer. Be the echo of the important and the mirror of the best. Or for example, objections are unheard needs of the customer. Not everything has been said, not everything has been asked. And that's why you get your objection. And when a person receives an objection, I think this is the default in the work of the salesperson. What happens if a smith was hurried up in making the component? The component gets faulty and then you have to throw it out. The main thing about the salesperson is to believe in their product. Sometimes I ask, what's the difference between a cool salesperson and the ordinary salesperson? And they say, because the difference is the knowledge. Sometimes we know too much. Therefore, most important is that you believe first. First, create the belief in the product and only then go to your client. And the fourth statement on the next page, that keeping your promise is the best product. I would say the best intermediate product. If you agree to meet the client and then you come on time, you have a chance. If you're late, at least even for a minute, that's it. You can't keep the promise, you lost. Or they say the difficult client is the best client. If you're selling something to a difficult client, you're obtaining new skills and you develop. A difficult client is a client that you have no experience working with. So you have to reshape yourself. You have to add something to your routine. A difficult client is our mirror that shows us our weaknesses. Therefore, when we meet a difficult client, we need to learn a lesson. What does it mean to learn a lesson? To learn a lesson is to sit down and write down how you should have talked to him. Write it down, not verbally, orally, but write it down. Option 1, 2, and 3. Because different clients, they object. You take their objection, maybe a terrible one, or an easy one, or just empty objection, and you give at least 5 or even 6, 7 different replies. And then you tell them, what do you think? What's your opinion? Or you make your offer. And you take the next step, like, let's meet, let's talk about it. I'm not going to go through all the principles, of course. I just wanted to draw your attention that here, the words that I use here are just not used for the sake of words, you know. I wanted you to feel the main thing, the essence. So let's go to the left part that you have on your screens, the navigator. You don't have it in the English room, unfortunately, but we do have it in Russian. It's the menu, it's the contents. So what's the client's point of view? In other words, we call it client's perspective. And I would like to draw attention to that material. That's what we covered in our lessons. Some people might not have been on those lessons. We have a matrix: buy, doesn't buy, receive, doesn't receive. And usually sales happen in the right side of the quadrant. And we say that's what you're gonna get if you buy. It works. But there are other important parts. And sometimes they're influencing even more than the upper right-hand corner, the green one. For example, what the client receives if they reject. What happens if they turn it down? Or what will they lose if they reject, if they don't buy? And here we even scare the client when they try to avoid something bad. In this case, their motivation is higher than the desire to receive something good. And the motivation is double, is twice as high to want to avoid something bad. So we're using that matrix to break down the needs of the client, the business owner, and the buyer, and the personnel into those 4 squares, quadrants. So now let's move to the type of the client, business owner or owner. So here you can see the description of the business owner. In the table below, you can see the values. It's a partnership. Key, you see what it says, efficiency, quality. We need to include those words in our scripts. Those are the access codes to the needs and wishes of the owner. Those are the most valuable words. And what needs they have? Quality assurance, performance, improved processes. The business owner has 2 tasks: to achieve results and to improve the process of achieving the result. And we need to help them with that when attracting clients. It's one of the key tasks in retention of the clients as well, and we need to mention it. And below you can see owner's perspective on what they receive when they use UGain. You see we have phrases already prepared for you. And if you go lower, we have 4 bullet points too. So you see how much text we have? Why did we have so much text? I repeat, because we want you to think of your own script and make hundreds of presentations without even engaging your head. You take two phrases from the first segment, you take one segment from one phrases from all other segments, and 4 phrases is already enough to make a mini presentation. So why I'm saying mini presentation, mini story? Because we need to talk with the client not longer than 20, 30 seconds and already ask them a question. What do you think? What's your thoughts? What's your opinion? What's your take on it? Or make a proposal if you see that the client is ready to perceive such proposal. Usually we ask open-ended questions. I don't know whether it suits you or not. I'm not sure whether you're ready to make the decision or not. So this is a closed question. And then we look at the person and you'll see the answer on their face, whether they're ready or not. That's how it works. And we realize that they're not, for example. So this is the perspective, the client's perspective. And I just show you how most simple offers are made. If you have the recordings of our presentation, you can check. Okay, let's go to the 4 reasons. So let's go the presentation for business owners, and there are 4 reasons why it is profitable to work with us. 4 reasons why it is profitable to work with us. You see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 presentations you can create. Why 8? We could have 9, but you pick the best that suits your needs best. Let's take a look. 4 reasons why it is profitable to work with us. Let's see what the presentation starts with. It starts with, the story starts with the client. And we created this formula, you see, 2 you plus 1 we. Nick, for example, let me tell you 4 reasons why it is profitable to participate in our affiliate program. And then you say, we turn on the logic. Firstly, you increase your repeat sales to your class customers as a result of informational interaction with other participants. Secondly, you use a motivational program to stimulate the increase in the number of clients. Thirdly, because your personal offers to each buyer will be generated automatically based on the purchase history. And finally, Nick, 8% of managers, when they know about it, they participate in our program. Today, it is 20,000 potential clients. And the speed of the increase of the client base grows. By the way, the last phrase is facts already. It is very important to end your presentation with bulletproof facts that you can prove right now. It's like a debt check, you know, if you know that phrase. Like this is the statistics. This is our these are our awards. This is our diploma or certificate. And you see, I said 80% of managers who learn about it decided to participate in our affiliate program. This is so-called social proof. Remember the principle of social proof? And then we added, today it is 20,000 prospective clients for you, an increased rate of growth of your customer base. And what we end our presentation with, how can we start our cooperation? On how do you like this offer? Or what are your requirements for cooperation, something like that. You need to ask that question right away. The problem with many salespeople, when they give their presentation, they keep silent. All of a sudden they're silent. And then the client starts wandering around in their head and they start diverting the topic. And we need to keep them on track. And we tell them, how can we start working together? And they will say what? They will start using words, and then you identify from those words whether he's ready or not. He will say it's important for us to have this, this, and that. And we say this, this, and that. You repeat, look, and you say the following. Look, you get a platform for your brand. You get additional income from the partnership program without spending efforts on advertising and you can expand your business. Today we have 20,000 clients. So what do you say? What do you think? If they object again, you read the next one. If they object, you have 8 such answers. So those mini presentations should be enough to handle any objection. Some not very experienced people try to give specific answers. The trick is not about being specific when you work with a client. You need to be, how to better put it, to be exquisitely uncertain so that the person from your words would build a picture of their own. And when you use those simple mini presentations, which you can use to create thousands of different variants, combinations. And that's how you do it. You can try and do it yourself. Try using those 4 blocks to create some nice mini presentations. Create at least 5 of them. Usually a person doesn't have more than 5 objections. Even if they don't need anything, they will still agree to make a purchase from you. Now let's go to the objection handling. So here we're talking about presentations, and people say there are a lot of objections. Maybe 20 or 30, 35 different objections collected together. I remember we handpicked them with Denis Bispyatov, all possible objections, and tried to include them. We have some classic. We don't need anything. It's not even objection. It's just like get lost phrase, it's negative response for them. And you see, what do you need to do? At first, you call them by their name, like Alex. You say that you don't need anything, and they agree with you. Yes, we don't need anything. Yes. Alex, since you think so, then we definitely should meet. It's like Aikido. You use the strengths of your opponent. And since you think so, we definitely should have a meeting. I suggest when we meet, we find out how we can be of use to each other. If you find it interesting, we will have a further discussion. If not, never mind. We'll have a cup of tea. What do you say? They can again say, we don't need anything. And you say, Nick, exactly. That's exactly because you don't know yet what we're offering. Why give away prospective clients to your competitors and deny yourself additional profit and calculate lost profits at the end of the month? I suggest we meet and discuss it. What do you think? Just give me a second. I see a question in the chat. No question. Okay, I'm sorry. Or another question that we had at our previous training. I don't remember who asked it. Something like, we don't offer discounts to anyone. Another objection. And we say, Alex, I understand you. It's important. By the way, very good phrase. And they will say, get lost with your offers. You say, Alex, I understand you. It's important. A discount is what you pay if you don't give enough attention to the customer. And they will nod, like, yes. And we say, but you cannot buy attention with money. Today, the disease of lack of attention to the customer's personality has spread across all markets. That's where discounts come from. What do you think? And they say, yes, I agree. What do you offer? And we say, look, in case of any reply, we say, that's why our task is to turn this harm into goodness. When clients think that they receive discounts, in fact, it is, dear friends, our investments into developing the client base, the customer base. Can you hear me? Or do you understand me? And they say, yeah, when they do. They already partially agreed with you. And then we can say, quote some classic, like the Carl Sewell, the dealer of Ford, in his book Customers for Life, said, and then we quote him, "Do not charge extra for things that a friend would do for another friend." You say, "Alex, a discount is a partnership reward to the client for the remaining part of the markup from their purchase, and this reward does not exceed, say, 10% of the markup. When the client brings you 100 ruble profit or dollar profit, $100 profit, are you ready to give $10 for them to stay with you? Some people are ready to give 20, 30 for them to be repeat customers. What do you say?" You see what I'm driving at here? So that's how you handle objections. And I can read it ad infinitum, you know. And the way I'm training myself and you right now, that's how you should be selling. That's how you should be talking at first to yourselves. And you need to write it all down, record it all on your tape recorder, on your phone. And then while you're driving, while you're doing anything else, when you're having a stroll or something, you talk it over. When I go to a meeting, when I go to some performances, I always insert the Peter Drucker's a memory stick, and I on the entire way from my house to the venue, I repeat Peter Drucker's words. Doesn't matter what. I just rehearse. I engage. That's what happens. So we're not going to read everything. You're going to read them themselves.
The same applies to the employees. Again, it is described here as well. You can study this on your own. And this is actually the repetition what we studied before. But now this is has the power of law, of the technology, of the technique, of the document. You know, dear friends, particularly those involved in developments, or even if you are managers, executive officers, or politicians, that the document is outdated at the time it is released. It requires improvement and update. And Dennis, Mr. Dan, I'm asking you, please think it over of how to collect feedback, ideas, good ideas from people when they read this simulator, this document. And by the way, there are some objections for the employees. There are these objections for the employees. Here they are briefly outlined. It's easier to talk to employees rather than customers, as they say, guests do not want to download. And look, they don't want to download. Yes, they don't. Yes, they don't, because they don't understand why they need it. So present the benefit, the advantage. For instance, in the section, there are new offers, new promotions, new campaigns running, and you may learn how you may look through and make your decision about the purchase. So the customers may have their own discount cards, but they are already outdated, and therefore today many people transform to social platforms, and your gain is quite similar. And at the same time, all the network structures international. So therefore, those who start applying the social networks faster, they are in the win situation. Even today and in future, the faster you start applying, the better your results are. And the next type of customers as users, similarly, as we discussed before, owners and employees, and we need to describe the user's profile. And here I want to stop. Why? Because This is the technology, and these scripts, these skills, we don't need to demonstrate anymore. We should train the employees to do it. Therefore, you see very few statements here, but we should equip them with 4 20-second presentations. Do you understand why they should be so short? If they are longer, a person will nod his hand and without listening to you. Therefore, equip them with 4 presentations and 5, 6 universal or common responses to objections. We need to train them because otherwise they will fail to make a proposal to their customers to encourage them to download YouGain app. This is the point at which we, together with employees of the business of our partner, should work together. This is the point where the key to success is and the key to fast development. So we should sell some specific benefits. By the way, those people, and you will find it, you will see it, we've discussed it, that a person turns from a salesperson into a new level of his development. He becomes a marketologist, not the one who simply sells, but the one who sells as well the opportunity to get timely information, to the opportunity to share the feedback about our service, our work. And he becomes a super salesperson. He becomes a sales wizard, and he gets repeated purchases, repeated sales, and he improves. And the skills of communicating with customers, they could be useful in other sectors as well, because all our businesses are about sales. So even when a person is not selling anything, then someone sells to him or her. And the techniques to find responses to objections. Let's move on, please. Our dear partners, in other rooms, in other languages, do you see the same documents? Do you understand it correctly? So these are techniques to find responses to objections. I shared with you additional techniques. You may use them. And in case you encounter any terrible objection, so look through these 10 techniques and select the most suitable and try through these a few techniques, prepare several responses to those objections you encounter. And it will mean to learn the lessons our customers teach us. Learning lessons meaning to create many variants of responding to the same objection. And by the way, I realize this. When you create 5, 6, 7 replies to one objection, generally it takes 30, 40 minutes. And do you know what happens? A miracle. And this objection and the likelihood of your facing this objection reduces many times. It's strange, it's weird. So people actually feel that you know how to respond to the objections and they stop objecting. They internally feel that you are ready to reply. By the way, dear friends, there is another technique. If the objection is very difficult, hard, you may actually present it on your own. So look, sometimes I talk to people and you may give this objection and you explain it and your customer will never actually present it, will never raise it. He will agree with you. Let's move on. The universal replies or responses to objections. What can you find here? Well, have a look, please. So this common replies to any objections. You literally know, we've discussed it, that the concept of any objection is to avoid something, avoid some doubts or some bad previous experiences. And a universal reply to an objection may be applied in the context of any objections. And here you can practice even. For example, a person objects. So I don't care what you say, either negatively or positively. I need to think it over. No, it won't suit us. We need some internal discussions, any objection they may have. What will you say? You call his name. What does it mean that you call his name? It means that you actually call to his ancestors, Sergei, and all his cells are already activated. So if you think this way, we need to meet to see the result, how it can improve your performance. Best decisions are made during personal chats, in direct contact. When is it convenient for you this week? On Wednesday at 12 a.m.? What do you say? And he may say, look, I don't care. I don't need your offer. And then you say, our offer is for those who want to become a leader, for monsters, for wizards, for classy people. And this is the reason I make this proposal to you. Look, Tom, we link your customers with your company for repeat purchases. This is a platform to promote your activities, your brand, and etc. I won't actually delay your attention any further, and there are 4 whys. As soon as you look through them all, the conclusion or the takeaway of this practical takeaway, not theoretical, but practical takeaway of our work. But I want to show you something more, some negative reactions. There are 4 negative responses or negative reactions. Change the slide, please. And they are related to 4 types of people. We've studied them. An expert who knows everything, who is very talkative. So firstly, he needs to teach you your lesson, and only then he will listen to you. What are you talking about? We have everything needed. And what is the way to respond? Well, Tom, yes, I understand you. It's good that you are talking about this. Our today's partners were used to saying the same thing until they started to work with us. As they realized how they can improve their performance, although they have everything necessary. So let's arrange a meeting and have a talk. Or another example, to say, we don't need it. He is an economist. He is saving everything. He says, we don't need anything. We need nothing. And this is the left-hand quadrant. So the life position of the customer. Look, then you should respond. Look, we've been operating for over 2 years, and many partners of us were saying the same thing until they see the results. It's important to actually see it in practice. When we started working with company A, you mentioned the name of this company. In the first months of their work with us, they saw the real tangible results. You can actually meet them. I encourage you to meet them and discuss it with them. So these are the negative replies. You may look them through and please play with them as a game. Play with your kids. They will object and you will reply. Look, our work is like a game. So a game playing with satisfaction and with some tangible results. So the next slide, please. The first phone, the first call, secretaries go around. There are very large corporations and you may not easily get to the owner you want to talk to. And quite often they are not in social media. So high-level businessmen run no social networks and they are quite difficult to reach. And I believe this trend is not only typical for Russia, but for other countries. Therefore, you need to make a phone call. What should you do? You give a phone call and the secretary replies. He or she is like a god and will protect her boss from you. And to all the objections of the customer, so you actually try to respond to all these objections and urging to actually get you through to the owner. So they say, please send us the details of your offer. Then you find out the name of the secretary, for instance, Nancy, saying, yes, I will send this offer. And this is the reason I'm phoning, to find out what is of your interest and to make the relevant offer, to make up the relevant offer. And for this reason, I need to talk to your boss. Could you please put me through? And etc. So here you will find all the replies to any objections the secretary may have. And incoming. So look, when she gets you through, this is the way to talk to a decision maker. I will not read it through. You will do it on your own, study it thoroughly. In case there are any questions, please ask your questions through the management. If you dislike something, so then please share the feedback. We will make some adjustments. And the most important thing is that the document is ready. There is a story I want to share. There was one guy when President Gorbachev betrayed the Soviet Union and it resulted in the collapse of the Soviet Union and different states got their independence. At that time, there was this capitalism, and one very interesting man, he was a professor and he wrote a book, 7 Notes of Management. I met him in person, we worked together, and he said a very important statement. Presence of notes is important than the quality of the notes you take. So, but it's difficult to understand without clarification. When you write down something, you can read it and it starts living beyond you. If you dislike something, you can make changes or adjustments. But unless it is written down, there is nothing to improve. And today we have this technology and it requires gradual, stepwise improvements. Let's turn it into the magic. Let's turn it into the tool of powerful sales. Who is the winner today? I don't know about other social platforms, whether they have such a technology. I believe half of them have them, but it's not evidence-based. But now, dear friends, we have this technology on our hands. Let's fine-tune it and polish. Well, there are some selling letters. If required, we will improve them, as sometimes it's useful to write in the social media and you can actually develop these selling scripts. By the way, we haven't studied this above, but maybe 3-4 templates of these letters encouraging people to talk to you. So partly you will find them here in this document, but this is like my compliment. Well, I will stop here. Thank you very much for your attention. Now, let's address all the questions you may have. Do you have any questions? Please ask them. At least those objections you may encounter before you actually announce them. Look through the document whether there are the replies to these objections or not. Now we have all the tools through which we can generate the replies to the objections you encounter. We have some written down statements, and they are very good things, like written down truth. A person objects saying, I don't care, but you say, look, business starts from customers and ends with customers. And we equip you with a tool to retain your customers. Do you agree that business starts with customers? And or he continues to object. You are saying bullshit, but you say, Tom, when the customer says yes, so he employs us, but when he says no, then he actually fires us in part. And we give you a tool that will increase 20 or 30% the likelihood of you getting yes from a customer. And what will it lead to? To an increase in 20% or 30% increase in your revenues. And what can you dispute in what I said? This is a way you should reply to such objections. I believe it's clear. Do you remember once we discussed about this truth, 20 statements? So please recall them or find them in the presentations. So a client, a customer is the most valuable asset of a business. Be the owner of the market rather than the industry or the production. Be the owner of the customer. Production of goods and services starts and ends with the production of customers. By the way, what are sales? They are production or generation of customers for our goods and services. When we have such quotations or statements, do you understand how influential you sound? And when you have a lot of them ready-made, it's great. Thank you very much for your being patient with me. And I do apologize before our partners in Europe and Asia. I tend to speak very fast. I do apologize, dear friends, as my ideas flow into my mind, and sometimes I'm very fluent and talkative. When you talk in front of the audience, you can see the eyes of the people. But here, actually, we have interpreters, so we do appreciate your efforts, your work, and your being patient with my mode of speaking, my talking in an endless way. Thanks a lot to all of you, dear friends. Look, I find it amazing to talk to you, and I actually feel that I am needed, I'm useful for you, and quite likely we may continue, as the sales are a very deep topic, and maybe one day we will meet again, and hopefully we'll actually work with some specific scripts. As soon as Mr. Dan tells me that there are new scripts, we can actually supplement them. By the way, I have one good idea. I'd like to share it with you. Quite long ago, I realized for myself and reveal it to many others, and we've discussed it. When we actually pronounce something, people start visualizing with their minds what we are talking about, whether you want it or not. If you understand, then you see it. You can imagine it in your head, these pictures, or even some videos, some video clips in your imagination. And for them to move, you should actually use the verbs in the present tense. And these are natural processes inside when we listen to another person, when we hear another person talking. You can use this for your personal mental practice. How can you do it? I will prepare one script for you. I will call it a wizard of sales. A wizard of sales. It will be a 2-page document. What should you do with it? You write it down, you record it with your recorder, then you relax, turn on some very light meditation music and listen to your text already recorded with this music in the background, and you see the pictures in your mind, and this way mentally you practice to talk to your customers. It would be approximately 10 minutes text recorded, and you need to listen to it several times, and you will this way practice. Do you understand my idea? Every day we have these mental practices. How? I will explain. When you stay alone, you inside, you are not silent, you're not quiet. We've discussed it. A human person is the only being talking to itself. And you are alone. There is no button to turn you off. What happens? We are trained every second when we have a dialogue with ourselves. We practice our neuron networks. So we train them, we balance them. If the dialogues are positive, we actually prepare ourselves, motivate ourselves for success. If they are negative, if our thoughts are negative, we prepare ourselves for failures. But look, here I'd like to offer you a personal training of how to become a wizard of sales. I will prepare this text, this document for you, and we will actually disseminate, or maybe we will come together for 20 minutes and you will record it, or you'd better record it on your own and then you will listen to it several times. So, well, I'm saying goodbye to all of you, wish you good health and good luck. Health, this is what we need first of all. So please drink some antioxidants and some additives and the coral water and the water, not to be infected. And you know with what to be infected with COVID. Thanks a lot to all of you, dear friends, and bye-bye, and stay classy. Yes, I'm sure as well that there will be further questions and replies, and not one reply, but many replies and responses. Thank you very much for your appreciations, for your feedback I can read in the chat. Bye-bye and take care.